Our top story tonight, President Trump announcing today that he's raising a 10% global tariff to 15%. The higher tariff comes one day after the Supreme Court ruled that the president couldn't use an emergency law to impose tariffs, and less than 24 hours after Trump imposed the 10% tariff. What divided the justices in the 6-3 tariff ruling, and what avenues can the president still pursue to protect national security? Two legal analysts break it down. Millions of people are under blizzard warnings as a blockbuster nor'easter targets the East Coast. The historic storm is expected to dump feet of snow on New York City, Boston, and other major cities. At the Winter Games today, Team USA picks up another gold while eyeing tomorrow's pivotal hockey match against rival Canada. NTD's Dave Martin joins us to discuss. Meanwhile, in Flushing, Queens, tradition was on display at the Chinese New Year celebrations, and NTD was there too.
This is NTD Evening News, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Arlene Richards. President Trump saying on Truth Social today that he plans to raise global tariffs from 10% to 15%. The announcement comes one day after the Supreme Court struck down his use of an emergency powers law to impose sweeping global tariffs. In a 6-3 ruling, the court's majority ruled that a president doesn't have the power to impose tariffs under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEPA. The court said those powers belong to Congress under Article 1 of the Constitution. Chief Justice John Roberts, writing the opinion for the court, said the president had not identified to Congress that there was an unusual and extraordinary threat that warranted such action, and that he did not have the authority to make the decision on his own. But the court didn't rule out other statutes that more directly give the president such power and have been used by past presidents. Trump yesterday set out to immediately counter the court's decision by imposing a temporary 10% global tax under Section 122 of the Trade Act of 1974. Today, he increased that to 15% and said it's effective immediately. Under Section 122, the tariff is capped at 15% and it's limited to 150 days. Lawmakers from around the country are weighing in after the Supreme Court ruled against most of President Trump's Liberation Day tariffs. Jason Blair reports.
On Friday, the Supreme Court ruled against most of President Trump's Liberation Day tariffs put into place last year. Following the ruling, Trump says that he's disappointed, but is also optimistic about other options.
Their decision's incorrect, but it doesn't matter because we have very powerful alternatives that have been approved by this decision.
Lawmakers reacting to the Supreme Court's ruling, Senator Bernie Moreno says SCOTUS's outrageous ruling handcuffs our fight against unfair trade that has devastated American workers for decades. These tariffs protected jobs, revived manufacturing, and forced cheaters like China to pay up. The House Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party reacted, saying that tariffs are one of the most effective tools to confront the CCP's economic aggression. A statement from Committee Chairman John Molinar says China continues to engage in predatory trade practices that hurt American workers, hollow out our manufacturing base, and threaten our national security. Tariffs on China level the playing field for Americans, and President Trump has demonstrated since his first administration that tariffs are one of the few meaningful tools in the U.S. economic security toolkit for confronting China. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries says that it's a win for Americans, saying the Supreme Court decision striking down the harmful Trump tariffs is a big victory for the American people. And Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says it's a victory for the wallets of every American consumer. Congressman Buddy Carter calls it a loss for the American worker, saying the Supreme Court just undercut the president's ability to defend American workers. I'm outraged by this decision. It's clearly judicial overreach. And House Speaker Mike Johnson says no one can deny that the president's use of tariffs has brought in billions of dollars and created immense leverage for America's trade strategy and for securing strong reciprocal America First trade agreements with countries that had been taking advantage of American workers for decades. Jason Blair, NTD News.
From a historic Board of Peace meeting and ongoing tensions with Iran to a Black History Month event and a presidential update on UFOs, NTD's Daniel Monahan has your White House week in review.
President Trump held the first meeting of his Board of Peace. He said nations had contributed $7 billion to a Gaza reconstruction fund.
And there's nothing less expensive than peace. You know, when you go to wars, it costs you 100 times what it costs to make peace.
In a speech to representatives from 47 nations, Trump said the United States will contribute $10 billion to the Board of Peace.
The reason that we're here today is, yes, to save lives and, yes, to promote peace, but this creates incredible prosperity for the American people.
Tensions with Iran continued this week. Tehran and Russia held joint naval exercises in southern Iranian waters as the United States increases its military presence in the Arabian Sea. Trump had some words of warning for the Islamic Republic as a second aircraft carrier approached the region.
Now is the time for Iran to join us on a path that will complete what we're doing. And if they join us, that'll be great. If they don't join us, that'll be great too. But it'll be a very different path.
You have the floor.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio called on European allies to be proud of their history and defend Western civilization.
And the only fear we have is the fear of the shame of not leaving our nations prouder, stronger, and wealthier for our children.
Marco, you really did yourself proud 2 days ago in Munich. In fact, so proud that I almost terminated his employ because they were saying, why can't Trump do this?
The White House held a celebration marking 100 years of Black History Month. A D.C. resident who lost her grandson to violence speaks at the White House in support of Trump's anti-crime push.
I love him. I don't want to hear nothing you got to say about that racist stuff. And don't be looking at me on the news, hating on me because I'm standing up for somebody that deserves to be stand up for. Get off the man's back. Let him do his job. He's doing the right thing. Back up off of him.
President Trump visited Georgia this week. He signed hats for customers at the Varsity in Rome.
I told them no tax on tips, no tax on overtime.
Coosa Steel President Andrew Saville explains how President Trump's tariffs saved his business.
Mr. President, what you've done for these guys down front, what you've done for our entire economy, what you've done for all of America, couldn't be done without your favorite word, tariffs.
Your jobs were being stolen as foreign nations dumped their subsidized products.
Mortgage rates have dropped to their lowest point since September 2022, offering gradual relief for homebuyers as affordability conditions improve.
By bringing down mortgage rates, we've also slashed the yearly cost of new mortgages by $4,000.
President Trump accused former President Barack Obama of leaking classified information when Obama said aliens are real in a recent interview.
He's not supposed to be doing that. You know?
So aliens are real.
Well, I don't know if they're real or not. I can tell you he gave classified information.
President Trump later said he'll direct the Pentagon and other agencies to begin releasing government files on UFOs and extraterrestrial life, citing strong public interest. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Next Tuesday, President Trump will give the first State of the Union address of his second term. What issues will the president talk about and in his address? And how has America changed since his first term? Join NTD's Tiffany Meyer, Steve Lance, and Mari Otsu on Monday, February 23rd at 6 p.m. Eastern for a preview of the major topics the president is expected to cover in the State of the Union. And on Tuesday, join us at 7 p.m. Eastern as we track the president ahead of his speech, hear reactions from lawmakers, and speak with panels on what it all means for you. Don't miss it. More than 40 million people are under blizzard warnings right now as a powerful nor'easter targets the East Coast. The historic storm is expected to dump more than a foot of snow on major cities like New York, Boston, and Philadelphia. Here's New York Governor Kathy Hochul urging residents to be prepared.
Deja vu all over again. Another brutal storm warning and a briefing we hope that many New Yorkers will listen to as we prepare for another descending cataclysmic weather event. It's time to brace for impact, New Yorkers. And once again, New York State is in the crosshairs of a very dangerous, fast-moving, potentially life-threatening winter storm. And literally in the last hour, we received word that it's even worse than we expected, and it is a rapidly deteriorating situation.
The last time all 5 boroughs in New York City were under blizzard warnings was in 2017. Officials are warning travelers to expect whiteout conditions and even closures. Widespread travel disruptions are expected, including at the major airports in New York City, Philadelphia, and Boston. New York's JFK, one of the busiest airports in the world, already warning of significant travel impacts and telling passengers to check their flight status. This system could also bring wind gusts up to 55 miles per hour, causing widespread power outages and coastal flooding. Areas like Atlantic City, New Jersey are already under a state of emergency. And coming up, President Trump again hiking up global tariffs in response to the Supreme Court's ruling. What drove the justice's decision, and what does it tell us about the president's power? 2 legal analysts share their insights. President Trump looking to increase global tariffs after the Supreme Court ruled against his use of sweeping tariffs under a federal emergency powers law. What's behind the ruling, and what powers does the president actually have to impose tariffs? 2 legal analysts joined NTD's Don Ma to share their thoughts.
Joining us now to discuss the Supreme Court's ruling and the president's response is Gerard Filitti, senior counsel at the Lawfare Project. He's also a foreign affairs and political analyst. And our other panelist, Jonathan Houlihan, president and general counsel of Remnant Law. As a commander in the Navy's Judge Advocate General Corps, he specializes in national security. 2 incredible legal analysts joining us today. Thank you for joining us. Good afternoon. So before I get your reactions to what happened, I brought a clip here with me of President Trump's reaction. Let's just take a quick look at that first.
The Supreme Court's ruling on tariffs is deeply disappointing, and I'm ashamed of certain members of the court, absolutely ashamed, for not having the courage to do what's right for our country. I'd like to thank and congratulate Justices Thomas, Alito, and Kavanaugh for their strength and wisdom and love of our country, which is right now very proud of those justices. When you read the dissenting opinions, there's no way that anyone can argue against them.
So, Gerard, I want to go to you first. Give us your reading of the court's ruling as simply as you can, as you understand it. What does it allow? What does it not allow the president to do?
Well, the court's ruling is one that many legal analysts had been expecting. The Supreme Court telegraphed 2 arguments on this case the way it was looking to rule. So this decision should not have come as a shock to anyone, least of all to President Trump. What the court ruled was that IEPA, an International Emergency Economic Powers Act, is not validly used to impose tariffs on other countries. That's not explicitly written into the statute, so that cannot be the basis by which President Trump imposes tariffs. However, the court did leave open other possible statutes by which the president can impose tariffs. Those remain unchanged.
So, Jonathan, do you agree with Gerard's assessment that the word tariffs was not explicitly used? What stood out to you about this ruling?
I do agree. It wasn't unexpected. However, I think when you look at it from the national security perspective, if you look at IEPA, it's under Title 50, the war powers, all the other trade authorities are under Title 19. So clearly, President Trump was using this initially when he took office to really level the playing field from a national security perspective, whether it's unfair trade practices from an emergency perspective, the fentanyl trade, all of these kind of national security issues that required quick, decisive action from his position under Article 2 of the Constitution as Commander-in-Chief. I do agree Congress should have clarified, could have clarified while this whole thing was working up. They could have made some amendments to IEPA. They didn't, and that's what President Trump called for today.
Okay, so Gerard, another thing you can explain for us. President Trump praised the dissenting opinion written by Justices Thomas, Alito, and Kavanaugh. So explain for us how these justices interpreted the law and how that differs from the majority ruling.
Well, primarily, as we just heard, what the interpretation there was that because this falls within national security, that is something that is within the president's purview, and the Supreme Court gives great deference to the executive, to the president, when it comes to issues of national security. They tend not to second guess him. However, the real import of Kavanaugh's and the dissent opinion is that it gave a blueprint, if you will, to how President Trump can continue to impose tariffs, explicitly referencing sections of the Trade Expansion Act and Trade Act as something that the president could use instead of IEPA to move forward with tariffs. So the import there of this dissenting opinion is that it dissents in part to the conclusion of the majority, but it also provides a ground game for how the president can continue to impose tariffs to some extent.
So, Jonathan, the dissenting statement said that the word regulate should include imposing tariffs. How do you view this? Talk to us about this different approach and interpretation.
So that really fell under the major questions doctrine analysis, where, and I don't want to get too technical for your audience, but essentially under the emergency authority, regulate was not necessarily considered a tariff, and regulate really did fall under those emergency powers. So it was all encompassing, and a tariff is not strictly a tax. I mean, a tariff is a fee, and it's really used under emergency authority granted by Congress to really under the commander-in-chief authority, chief executive, to really level the playing field from a national security perspective. So when they talk about regulate or trade, that's not specifically, it wasn't specifically used in prior, let me back up. Previous cases like the Curtis Wright case that the Supreme Court ruled on really looked at it from regulate and trade and gave great deference to the president under Article 2. So that's the precedent. It has been used before, and that really wasn't the analysis in this case. So that's the difference.
Okay, so I have another clip here with me. President Trump complimenting the dissent, noting that the court's decision might not substantially constrain the president's ability to order tariffs. So he announced this plan. Let's just take a look.
So we can use other of the statutes, other of the tariff authorities, which have also been confirmed and are fully allowed. Therefore, effective immediately, all national security tariffs under Section 232 and existing Section 301 tariffs, they're existing, they're there, remain in place, fully in place, and in full force and effect. Today, I will sign an order to impose a 10% global tariff under Section 122 over and above our normal tariffs already being charged. And we're also initiating several Section 301 and other investigations to protect our country from unfair trading practices of other countries and companies.
Okay, so Gerard, break this down for us, the two parts here, the global tariffs and not exact words, but the emergency tariffs.
Well, so far we've seen tariffs imposed under a number of different theories. The IEPA ones are the ones that were invalidated by the court. So tariffs imposed under Section 232 and Section 301, those remain valid. Those remain ways that Trump can exercise tariff authority. What he is looking is to expand those to other sectors of the economy. Section 122 is a little bit different. The 10% surcharge, the surtariff, if you will, that is something that is only in effect for 150 days. That's the limit that he can do that without congressional approval. So that really is an interim stopgap measure while the Department of Commerce, in the case of Section 232, or the International Trade Representative, in the case of Section 301, conduct these investigations in order to have findings that additional tariffs are necessary on specific products, on specific sectors, or specific countries. But this is a way that Trump can move forward to replace the IEPA tariffs that were invalidated.
Okay, Jonathan, can you just add a little bit more here from a legal perspective? Talk to us about the 10% global tariffs in addition to the existing tariffs.
Yeah, I think President Trump is just attempting to double down and make sure that his policy, his foreign policy, and his authority under Article 2 is being implemented under those current authorities, under the 150-day authority that he can implement them. At the same time, that buys him some time to to really conduct those investigations, because government, if it falls under these other titles, it's going to move at the speed of government, which is generally slow. So they have to conduct these investigations. They have to make these findings. There's more due process involved. So I think, I don't have inside information, but if I were a bet, he's implementing that to buy some time to get these other investigations completed and then put them on top after the date expires on the emergency authority under Title 19.
Jonathan, just real quick, does these tariffs, the 10% ones, only last 150 days?
As I understand it, yes, that's correct. That they can renew them. I mean, Gerard may need to correct me if I'm wrong on that one.
And anything to
Yeah,
add?
I think to some extent they can be renewed, but the statutory language is that they need Congress to sign off on it. So that is something else that Trump could do or could have done all along, which is involve Congress in this process.
Okay, so Gerard, I mean, you both have a background in foreign policy and national security. I'll get your comments both on this. Starting with you, Gerard, what does today's ruling mean for national security and foreign policy?
I think it is a little bit of a blow to Donald Trump's ability to conduct foreign policy. He needed to have that flexibility in order to have these negotiations with countries, to present America as in a strong light with the hammer, the threat of economic pressure in order to bring other countries to the table, whether it was for trade deals or for military presence or for anything else. So now it has to be done the traditional way, going through Congress, going through a long regulatory proceeding, going through the snail's pace of government. So it really does tie Donald Trump's hands in many ways. However, at the end of the day, the United States remains in a very strong position internationally. There were a lot of bilateral treaties that were entered into because of these tariffs, which actually supersede the tariffs. The United States is in a strong position economically to show the rest of the world that even though the Supreme Court struck down this particular tariff, that there are other tools still available. So I don't really think it changes much, but it does continue to leave uncertainty in the economic sphere as to what sanctions will be, what tariffs will be, how long they will be there for. That continuing uncertainty will be an effect on the economy more than on foreign policy.
So, Jonathan, President Trump has credited his tariffs to ending wars. He said today he ended 5 wars using tariffs out of the 8 that he ended. He has used tariffs as a negotiation tactic, pressuring other countries. What happens on this front, Jonathan?
Well, if you look at the national security of the United States, I mean, it really is, with this administration, it is a whole of government approach. It's the diplomatic, the international, the legal, the military, all of those things, the economic, all of those kind of dime national security strategy, whole of government strategy, whether it's using the military on strikes, whether it's using sanctions or tariffs, that's what that means. So he's used the whole of government to achieve his foreign policy objectives. In tariffs, I do agree it does weaken him a little bit, but I think there's a fix here. I think following all the other authorities, the national security authorities under Title 19, it's going to be fine. Now, undermining his foreign policy objectives from a national stage, that hurts. But I do agree with Gerard. It shows the world, we're a constitutional republic. We're a law-based republic, and the president of the United States is going to listen to the Supreme Court, which is a good thing in the long term. I also think it shows, where's Congress in this? Okay, Congress really needs to come to the table and help the president on these. The president of the United States cannot continually fight these battles by himself. There are 3 branches of government. So Congress, under their authority, needs to get with the president. They could have made some modifications to IEPA to clarify. They could do that tomorrow if they wanted to. I mean, they could. They hold the majority. So if they want to do it, they better do it quick. And that's where I stand on that one. Like, Congress needs to be engaged more on these processes, and you can't leave it all up to the president.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point as well. So I brought another clip here with me. The president today also mentioning China specifically. So let's take a listen at this.
We are being ripped off by almost every single country in the world. Had some massive surpluses. China had hundreds of billions of dollars in surpluses with the United States. They rebuilt China. They rebuilt the army. We built China's army by allowing that to happen. I have a great relationship with President Xi, but he respects our country now. Now, what we've done, I charged China a 20% tariff as a penalty for sending fentanyl in. And that was 20 times more than they could make by selling fentanyl. And I said, at some point you're going to say, and they have reduced it. Fentanyl is down by more than 30% coming into our country.
So, Gerard, how does today's ruling interact with the Chinese regime? How is the Chinese regime viewing this?
Well, I think China is and will always view Donald Trump with a lot of concern because he has been the one president that has stood up to them in trade. And there are several policies and several laws that he still has available to him, including, I believe it's Section 338 of the Tariff Act of 1930, which is even more powerful than some of the sanctions that he's used so far, some of the tariffs that he's used so far, that he could impose on China, kind of the nuclear option, if you will, to really restrain trade because of that balance of payments imbalance that we're seeing, that trade deficit. Because really, we've been subsidizing China, communist China, building up its armed forces, threatening its neighbors, and taking over economic dominance in a lot of the world. And this has started to be reduced by President Trump's actions with tariffs. We have re-entered the global sphere competitively. So I think China is worried, the president should be worried, that Donald Trump will continue to stand up to them.
Okay, Jonathan, anything to add?
No, 100% agree. I think using those unfair practices authorities and the national security authorities, he can still meet those objectives on the precursors that import fentanyl into the North American continent.
Okay, just one last question here I'd like to ask the both of you, and it pertains to the tariff revenue that has already been collected. President Trump said today he expects this issue to be litigated for years to come. Can I just get, Gerard, starting with you, your feeling here? What happens next with that?
Well, a lot of companies that have not already sued in the International Court of Trade, Trade Court, will do so in order to get back the tariff monies that they paid. But that's only the starting point, because you will also see a lot of litigation between companies. When you have one company that's been charging its consumers or its other company clients more money to absorb the cost of tariffs, and if that company gets refunded, then other companies will want to follow suit. So you will see a lot of lawsuits that'll keep us lawyers busy for years to come, just to figure out what company is entitled to how much money back.
Okay, Jonathan, final thoughts here.
Gerard stole my thunder. The lawyers win, and that's what's going to happen with that. It's going to be years of billable hours, years of associates reading through documents and negotiations. So at the end of the day, it's going to be a mess, just like the dissent discussed with going back to the International Trade Court.
And hopefully that means we'll have you guys on for the next few years as well. But that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up at the Winter Games today, Team USA picks up another gold while eyeing tomorrow's pivotal hockey match against rival Canada. NTD's Dave Martin joins us to discuss. For your sports news, we're joined by NTD's Dave Martin. Dave, good to see you as always.
Good to see you, Arlene.
And nice to be sitting side by side.
Yeah, a little change up again. Did the standing. Now we're doing the sitting.
Yeah.
See what works best.
Yeah, well, kind of more comfortable, more homey.
It is. You feel like you can have a real conversation now here too. So yeah, there's positives and negatives to both. I don't have to worry about the screen behind me so much.
Right. All right. So we got to get going here because you've got a lot of Olympics news today. I know we had a number of competitions. Where does Team USA stand?
You know, they got a gold and 2 bronze medals today. So I'm going to say it was a pretty good day for Team USA. You know, first in the freestyle skiing mixed team aerials, U.S. beat out Switzerland and China to win gold in this event. This marked their second straight gold in this event dating back to 2022. So big congrats to them. Very fun event to watch, by the way. Also today, the women's speed skating, the mass start, Team USA's Mia Manganello took home the bronze for that's her first career Olympic medal. Very exciting. Big congratulations to her. Finally, Team USA won another bronze today in the 2-women bobsleigh event. That's Kaylee Humphries getting her 6th career Olympic medal, while teammate Jasmine Jones won her first. So congratulations to both there. So we got a gold, 2 bronze today for Team USA. They have the second most golds and the second most medals overall in these games. They trail Norway by both. Now Norway has been out of this world. They have a a record 18 gold medals in these games right now. So that's they're doing very well.
So, I mean, USA is kind of knocking it out of the park because they don't usually do this well in Winter Olympics, right?
Yeah, usually they're not. I think the last time they won the Winter Olympics was about 100 years ago. So.
Oh my gosh.
They're usually like, I would look back, they're usually like top 4 or 5 anyway.
Right.
So they're usually, you know, up there. Not the winner. Norway is usually the winner. Norway is killing it this time again. 18 gold medals, that is a record for a country at the Winter Games.
Second is not so bad.
Yeah, second
right?
is very good.
For the U.S.
I'm very happy with second.
All right, now speaking of Norway's record-setting Olympics, their big star has been cross-country skier Johannes Klæbo. So now he has a record of 6 golds all by himself.
I mean, what an incredible Winter Games this guy has had. He won gold today in the men's 50-kilometer mass start. That gives him the 6 gold medals overall. That breaks a tie with Team USA's Eric Heiden, who won 5 way back in the 1980 games up at Lake Placid. But Klæbo, I mean, to me, he really put himself on the map when he won that 10-kilometer skiathon last week. I mean, the way he attacked those hills, he looked like a machine going up there. Everybody else looked, you know, human. Now, here's what he had to say about where his 6 gold medals place him among countries at these games.
Johannes, if you were a nation, you would be number 9 in the medal table at the moment.
True.
The same amount of golds as Sweden has.
Well, that's a pretty good one. I think I'll need to make a picture of that actually and hang it on my wall. So it's been 2 really amazing weeks, and it's way above what I could have dreamed about. I think I will spend some time this spring to really figure out what's going to be the next target and how I'm going to develop as a skier, and I mean also where I kind of want to put my focus. So I felt like after the World Championship I was kind of mentally tired, and then I felt like pretty fast when we started training again, and we kind of set the new plans for the upcoming season and the Olympics. You know, happening every 4th year. It helped me a lot, and I think the good part is that we also have a championship next year, which is going to help. But on the other hand, I think it's going to be important now for me to really sit down a little bit and figure out how I'm going to do things and why I'm doing what I'm doing, I guess.
Klæbo, 11 now career gold medals at the Olympics. That's second only to the great Michael Phelps, who had 23. But I mean, Klæbo last week, when he was going up that mountain at full speed, everybody else was like at half speed. Everyone was just in awe of that moment. So the guy he's superhuman.
Superhuman.
Superhuman, I'm saying it right now. He's superhuman. That was just incredible what he did.
Well, if you say that, it must be superhuman.
It was pretty incredible. That was awe-inspiring, I've got to say that.
Right.
I mean, it's a 10-kilometer race up and down a mountain on those skis, and he has all that energy at the end. Nobody else had it.
Wow.
I mean, to make other Olympians look like that, the way he did was just incredible.
All right, more Olympics tomorrow, more gold or medal events, not gold, maybe some gold. So we've got this big game, U.S. versus Canada. They're a rivalry in hockey. So who's favored to win?
Well, Canada is the slight favorite small. So let's hope for gold. Canada should be the favorites. I mean, historically, they've owned the U.S. in these medal rounds. They beat U.S. in the gold medal game in 2002, again in 2010. That 2010 heartbreaker in overtime there. Canada also beat them in the semifinals in 2014. Now, last year, though, they split those 2 games in the Four Nations face-off, but Canada won the very important one in the finals. Here's what Team USA's Matthew Tkachuk just had to say about the rivalry.
You know what? I mean, it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to represent the United States and for us to be in the gold medal game with a chance to do something that very few Americans have been able to do. It's just, it's hard for me to wrap my head around right now. I don't even know if I want to think that far ahead yet. I kind of want to just have the same mindset we had after the Sweden win, and that's enjoy that win for the night and then come either to wherever the meeting is tomorrow, and then we move on from there. So I think we still want to enjoy this one tonight because that's a really good Slovakian team that earned their right to be there, and I thought we played a hell of a game. So I think we deserve to enjoy this one, and we'll move on to Canada tomorrow. You guys are asking me stuff that I said I want to wait till tomorrow to think about, but it's best on best. It's what every American and Canadian grows up watching, grows up hearing about. This is the pinnacle of the sport. This is as good as it gets, and a rivalry that's as good as it gets. So there will be not one TV without this game on in the United States and in Canada, and that should get you pretty fired up.
Yeah, so if you're going to watch that game on TV, and like you said, you better, right? It's going to start tomorrow morning, 8:10 Eastern Time, will be aired on NBC. So that should be a fun one. If you remember in the Four Nations face-off, when they faced in the finals, there were 3 fights in the first 10 seconds of the game. I'm not expecting that this time. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some fights. I mean, it's hockey after all, and U.S. versus Canada. I'm expecting a very intense game.
All right.
Looking forward to it.
I may even watch that one.
All right.
So we're going to shift gears to boxing now, though, because we got a 48-year-old Floyd Mayweather announcing that he'll be coming out of retirement after his upcoming exhibition bout with Mike Tyson, who's a lot older. So what kind of precedent is there for someone boxing at his age?
I mean, there is some. I mean, we just mentioned Tyson. Tyson hasn't officially come out of retirement. He's just doing exhibitions. I guess that means you're not officially coming out of retirement if you do an exhibition. But Manny Pacquiao came out of retirement last summer at age 47. He did very well in his comeback bout, and I think a draw against junior featherweight champion Mario Barrios. There's also the story, I mean, George Foreman, 30 years ago at age 45, oldest heavyweight belt champion ever. And like I said, Tyson, 59 years old, so he's a decade older than him. But Mayweather, he's had an unbelievable career, 50-0 record before retiring in 2017. That's actually his 3rd different retirement. He has done a few exhibition matches since then. In any case, he still hasn't announced a scheduled opponent just yet. Maybe he'll face Manny Pacquiao again. Now, those two combined for a fight roughly a decade ago, it netted a whole lot of money. I would think if they want to do another one, it would net a whole lot of money again. We'll have to see. I would think, though, he wouldn't make this announcement unless he had talked to someone about, you know, who he's actually going to box. But we'll see. You never know with the boxing thing. Even the exhibition match with Tyson, it doesn't seem like it's for sure. I've seen April 25th as scheduled as a floated date, so it's not quite sure that yet. But him coming out of retirement, it seems like something's happening soon.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I guess Mike Tyson's just a warm-up for him. Well, do the real bouts later.
That's exactly right. You know, he's going to be. Tyson fights at heavyweight, you know, so this will be interesting because Floyd Mayweather, I can't remember if he's ever fought heavyweight or not, but he has fought at significantly lower weight classes, so this will be a challenge for him. A couple of guys, late 40s, late 50s will be interesting.
All right, now we got to move on to college basketball, get into this. Where do things stand right now? Because I know there's a lot of games.
Yeah, 20 ranked teams in action today. Let's look at some scores here. Starting in the SEC, defending champion Florida won big at Ole Miss today, 94-75. Gators now 20-6 on the season. In the Big East, we got 17th ranked St. John's rolled against Creighton, winning 81-52 in that game. Really the upset of the day in the Big 12, as much as I hate to say it, Cincinnati, unranked Cincinnati, won at Kansas 84-68. Got some more scores here. 16th ranked North Carolina won at Syracuse 77-64. Tar Heels now 21-6 overall. In the Big 10, 9th ranked Nebraska beat Penn State 87-64. Cornhuskers having an amazing season, 23-4. And in the ACC, 14th ranked Virginia beat Miami 86-83. Let's look at some more scores here. A mild upset in the SEC as unranked Tennessee won at Vanderbilt 69-65. Meanwhile, in the ACC, 21st ranked Louisville beat Georgia Tech 87-70. And in the Big 12, Texas Tech really blew out Kansas State 100-72. Red Raiders now 20-7 on the season. We got one more big score here. 4th ranked Arizona gets a big win today, beating 2nd ranked Houston on the road in a battle of top 4 teams. Wildcats now 25-2 overall, 12-2 in the Big 12. Houston, meanwhile, falls to 23-4 and 11-3 in the Big 12. And in a game that'll be starting any minute now, third-ranked Duke plays number 1 Michigan. Now, if you notice, we've got 2 top 4 battles in college basketball. This is the 5th time in the history of the AP poll. We have 2 top 4 battles on the same day. We just had one with Arizona beating Houston, so we'll have to see how number 1 Michigan fares against number 3 Duke, but all eyes will definitely be on that game. So,
all right.
A whole lot of college basketball.
We're going to have to move it on from there, but thank you so much, Dave, for those updates.
Thank you, Arlene.
All right. Coming up, traditional Chinese culture on display in Flushing, Queens today with the Lunar New Year parade. We'll take you there. Today is the 5th day of the first lunar month of 2026, the year of the horse in the Chinese zodiac. It's said to be a year of speed, strength, and uplifting energy. In New York City, a Chinese New Year parade just wrapped up in Flushing, Queens, a borough with one of the world's largest and fastest growing Chinese neighborhoods outside Asia. The parade showcasing a vibrant culture with costumes, floats, dancing, and other Chinese traditions. NTD and our sister media, the Epoch Times, had a float in the parade. Stephania Cox takes us there. Let's check it out.
Happy Chinese New Year, everyone. The Year of the Horse. We're right here in the heart of Flushing, Queens, ready to celebrate. So looking forward to that. I'm going to hop on this NTD and Epoch Times float where all of my colleagues are celebrating as well and here to enjoy the atmosphere with the community here. But my cameraman is going to break off and take a look at what's happening further down the line. See you soon. Is that right? Will, yeah. All right. See you soon. As the banner carriers and flag holders begin moving forward with the Dragon Dance team ready to perform, so the parade begins.
I love it. I love it. I love the horse. I love the dragons. I'm waiting for our Lotus dancers to come. Those are actually my favorite.
New energy. I love being here. It's my first time here, so far so good. I loved what I see. So I'm going with the energy. This year is to overcome fearbearance, unity, energy, good vibes. I love it all.
It's very beautiful, very welcoming and very opening, and I definitely want to know more about it.
I think it's great. I love the parade. I've always wanted to go since I was a little kid. I remember learning about it at school, but I never got to go in person, so this is my first time being at the parade in person. It's great. I love seeing the lions and the dragons.
It's a whole different view from up on the float. Meanwhile, the rest of the team asked people about their Chinese New Year's resolutions.
For me, continue what I'm doing and stick to what I'm doing. Be truth to myself.
To be more open to new possibilities and leaving the bad vibes and the bad aura behind.
The same as everybody else, to lose weight and to be healthier.
In ancient Chinese culture, the first lunar cycle of each year usually signifies a farewell to the old and bad and a welcoming of the new and good. The Year of the Horse symbolizes freedom and independence, aligning this year with America's 250th anniversary and also with the resilience of the faith group Falun Gong, also known as Falun Dafa, which has a float here today. Now, this spiritual practice teaches the values of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. But under the Chinese Communist Party's draconian rule, which mandates atheism, Falun Gong has faced brutal persecution for more than 2 decades. Despite not being able to practice freely in China, some Falun Gong practitioners managed to escape and forge a new home here in the land of the free. Among them are counted the founders of NTD. Under the CCP's suppression of a free press and free expression, with no other way to expose the brutal human rights abuses against them and others in China, they started this very news channel, NTD. Each year, this parade draws thousands of viewers with cheers along the way. Our float is about to reach the end of the parade route, the grand finale, with most attention gathered on Flushing's Main Street. And as you can see, the parade has just wrapped up. It was such a great time out here in the community in Flushing. And as you can see, our cameraman made it back to the meeting point. Will, did you have a good time? All right, seems like it was a good time all around. Lots of smiling faces, as I said. It's a good start to the new year, folks. That's all we have time for right now. But hope you have a great year of the horse and happy Chinese New Year. I'm Stephanie Cox in Flushing, Queens with NTD.
And that's the news for this evening. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Arlene Richards. Good night.